Know our first guest from films like Austin Powers and Bedazzled and TV shows like The Royals, but for nearly 30 years, Elizabeth Hurley has been on a deeply personal mission to raise awareness about a disease that has not only affected her family, but millions around the world. So to mark Breast Cancer Awareness Month, please welcome Elizabeth Hurley. Do you know what's really interesting is we were talking about you coming onto the show earlier, and not unusually, but all of us in some way, shape or form has been affected by or know somebody affected by breast cancer. It's something that affects so many women.
I think it does. I mean, I think it's very rare to meet anybody now who hasn't been affected, hopefully not necessarily being the one diagnosed, but with a family member or a friend. I think it's nigh on impossible because, you know, in the UK, 1 in 7 women will be diagnosed with breast cancer in their lifetime. So the chances are we're going to know someone. And
you've had friends that have been dealt that blow, haven't you?
I mean, so many friends. I mean, this year alone, 2 close girlfriends of mine, both a little younger than me, both diagnosed with early-stage breast cancer because they both found their own lumps by self-checking. And so it was found early. So, you know, it's to be hoped that they're in the 90% of people that if it's found early, make a recovery.
Do you think enough of us are checking every day or every week, like we're supposed to, aren't we now?
Every month it is. I think I was just chatting to Liz, actually, because I heard somebody say the other day, you're not looking for cancer, you're looking for changes. And that really resonated with me, because I think a lot of women don't want to look because they're scared they're going to find something. Yeah. And then, I mean, so many women don't know that you have to, you know, it's not just a case of a bit of that. You've got to go right across here and under the... Yeah. But I think there's just been so much... you know, things like this, like you do, Liz, and I think now it feels like people are so much more aware. Like when I was younger, nobody was checking their boobs, but most people I know now would. And like you say, just if you get in there early, primary breast cancer, you know, you don't have to die of primary breast cancer anymore.
No. With that early diagnosis, like you said, if you check, because obviously with the NHS, they don't screen until you're 50. And there's so many cases under the age of 50, so self-check is so important and to know what to look for.
I mean, do you feel like more... I mean, you said, obviously, 2 friends with self-diagnosis. I mean, over 2 in 5, so that's 43% of women, do not check their breasts regularly for signs. That's almost half of women are still not doing it. What do you think it is that we need to do to encourage more women to not be afraid and just check?
Well, I think it's really... encouraging women to put their own health as a priority. And I think as women, sometimes we always put ourselves last. We're so busy doing everything for everybody else that it seems almost indulgent to give time to ourselves. But I think because we are the caretakers of the world, we have to take care of ourselves. And I think just putting breast care...
Put the oxygen mask on first.
I think putting breast care into a category where you need to check. So I think, as you rightly said, I think for a lot of people it's about familiarising yourself with your own breasts so that when you can see there's a change, it could be dimpling, it could be an inverted nipple, it could just be a change that something doesn't feel right. You can then go to the doctor because you know what's normal for you and you'll know if something is less normal now. So it isn't always paranoidly checking for lumps. It's just at the beginning knowing your breasts. And so that's a message, you know, that message hasn't changed. Lots changed in the breast cancer landscape since we started messaging this more than 30 years ago, but that hasn't changed. Treatments are better, diagnosis is better, targeted treatments are so much better now. There's so many improvements, but still women are dying, and still the same message is early detection saves lives. It's the same message.
Where's the passion for this come from? Because 30 years ago, it was still something that many women didn't want to talk about, and yet you joined this campaign and you've been ferociously involved in spreading the message. But where was the trigger for that?
Well, when I started working for the Estée Lauder companies, they'd just started their breast cancer campaign, and Evelyn Lauder had just also started the Breast Cancer Research Foundation, which to date, by the way, has raised more than $1 billion for research, of which... I mean, really unbelievable research, which has been part of every major breakthrough in breast cancer research. So it's a phenomenal thing to have been fundraising for. And when she asked me to help her, I'd just lost my grandmother to breast cancer in the early 90s, at a time when there was no pink ribbon, no Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and nobody spoke about breast cancer. There's my grandmother. Oh. And I think if she knew today that we were on national television talking about breast cancer, talking about self-care, talking about sharing with your family and sharing messaging and knowing that so many other people have sort of joined in this fight, people from different communities who now want to share the problems that they have. Yeah. So there's more global ambassadors that work with me. There's a lovely lady called Leanne from Black Women Rising. Oh, yeah, we've got we've got Krina from South Asian Supernovas, and we've got the lovely Lauren from Girls vs Cancer, who was diagnosed very young. Yeah. Just to say that there's different parts who have different problems that they're facing. Their communities need to be addressing things in different ways. Yes. They need to be introduced to subjects they're not necessarily...
Take the shame out of it.
Yeah. And the stigma about breast cancer.
Some people feel ashamed.
So, and for both men and women, isn't it? Yes. There's shame for both when it comes to thinking about having this diagnosis and then working out how to deal with it and talk to others about it.
Yes, I mean, 1 in 400 men will be diagnosed with breast cancer. And for men to talk about checking their breasts is a violently extraordinary thing for them to come to terms with. So I think gradually the message is spreading. It has to reach everybody all over the world, and we just do the best we can to try and keep getting the messaging out there and helping where we can see that people need extra care and attention.
Yeah. And talking about men getting involved and talking in the conversation, Damien, your son, helps you with the campaigning and stuff, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. He helps take videos, and if we've got product that's being sold for the cause, he'll help me do that. He'll come to events with me, and yeah, he cares passionately because, you know, in his lifetime, he's never known a life without a pink ribbon, without Breast Cancer Awareness Month. He's never known that time where we whispered, and when my grandmother was suffering and dying, nobody spoke. He can't imagine that time, but it was there. I remember it very clearly.
And it's important, isn't it, that we encourage our children to be aware of such things within the world, because if we're comfortable with it and that we can talk to them about it, they can also share this stuff with their friends, and that's a lot about how change happens, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and it's involving more people from different communities to help spread that message so that it really does go wide.
Yeah. Oh, you've been incredible. And do you know what was amazing about this talk? Is what we hope is there are men and women that are watching this that also think, do you know what, I've not checked myself recently. Yeah. Maybe I should do that. What would you say to them?
I would say do it, because a girlfriend of mine last year watched an Instagram post I did saying self-check. She self-checked that night and found a lump in the bath.
Really?
She just had an idle check.
That's a good place to check in the bath.
She found a lump. It was caught early. But had she not seen that message on Instagram... she wouldn't have checked. Yeah. So it is important to keep getting the message out there.
Oh, Elizabeth. Just brilliant. Thank you.